Hello and welcome to Benchmark Magazine. Today, we're talking to Stephen Commander from HID Global. Stephen is the Director of Consultant Business Management. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hi, Jenny. I'm well. Thank you.
Wonderful to have you. Steve, tell us a little bit about HID, how it started. Give us a bird's eye view of the company, please.
So HID is actually an acronym. It stands for Hughes Identification Devices. So it started off as a subsidiary of Hughes Aircraft, which is the aerospace industry. And it was founded in 1991. And at that time, that subsidiary was focusing on using RFID technologies to secure access to doors, so for physical access applications. And it was a pioneer in that space, using RFID for that purpose. So it was founded in 1991, specialized on RFID for access control, and it was acquired by ASSA ABLOY in 2000, and has been part of that group since then.
Wonderful. So from that time, you have evolved quite a lot. HID is now a huge global company, and you have different types of access control, from apps to mobile phones, access to cards, etc. Could you tell us what the company's flagship products are?
I can. Just taking a step back, HID's ethos is to power the trusted identities of the world's people, places, and things. It's important to have that in mind because that actually positions the various HID solutions. So we do, for example, identification documentation like passports, ID cards, driver's license. We do solutions to secure access to networks via dual authentication. And as part of the various businesses, we have one that is called Physical Access Control Solutions, PACS as an acronym. Mm-hmm. And as part of PACS, we have components that we refer to as endpoint devices. If you think of yourself walking into a building, walking with your card, you would walk to a reader, flash your card on the reader, you would hear a beep and click, the door opens. Now, the magic that happens behind that is the card carries a piece of data, a number, which is sent to the reader. Mm-hmm. And the reader sends it to upstream devices on the network, which we call controllers. And it's actually the controllers that open the door based on the information received from the reader. And those endpoint devices are themselves managed by a software, which we call the access control software. So 4 components, basically: badge, reader, controllers, and software. HID manufactures cards, readers, and controllers. So the endpoint devices in that whole system. So to answer your question, once you've got that in mind, the flagship products from HID are the cards. And more specifically, we have a technology called SEOS, S-E-O-S, which is a technology to securely carry and communicate identities. And that can be both in the form factor of a plastic card or a virtual badge in an app, in a phone app. So the card. The other flagship product is the reader, which we call Signo. The latest range is called Signo. They are multi-technology readers. Then we've got the controllers. The brands are Aero and Mercury, which are well known in the industry. They have an open architecture design principle, so they plug into many different softwares I was referring to. And then we have next to that all the solutions that relate to mobility, so mobile access in the form of an application and a cloud service.
Very good. So how long have you been with HID, Steve?
I've been with HID since 2008.
Okay, so you must have seen quite a bit of changes in the way that the company carries out business. You have a very specific role with the consultants of business management. Can you tell us a little bit how this evolution has happened, at least in the time that you have been with the company?
I can. There have been many evolutions, but there's always been a core trend or a core component to HID, which is providing means of securing identities in various systems. So that hasn't changed. However, what has changed is securing the architecture I was referring to, so cards, readers, and controllers. The various components have gone through various innovations that make them now more secure. If you look at cards, for example, cards were back in the early 2000s, just very basic, unsecure cards. They've turned into technology-packed devices that have high security features. Mm-hmm. If you look at the readers as well, they were initially very simple devices, reading and transmitting data. Now you've got new standards coming in, new communication standards that make them more interoperable, more secure, more functional with Bluetooth and NFC to support mobile access, for example. And the same goes with controllers. So they have a number of evolutions. So I would say in terms of how we go to market indirectly. So through resellers, OEMs, distributors. That probably hasn't changed that much in terms of go to market. What has changed is those channels have had to acquire new skills to develop new ways of doing business themselves to address typically mobility and mobile access. And it has also brought us in an area where we have to develop new partnerships with, for example, the prop tech companies that we speak a lot of recently. Prop tech companies develop applications to make building tenants enjoy a better experience in the building. So being able to book rooms, book meals, do various things and interact with the building. And we connect to those services. Mm-hmm.
So it's similar to the way that some other industries have evolved, isn't it? Going from just physical to being virtual practically, isn't it?
Yes, and I like to mention, often people come to me and say, Stephen, what's so different about PACS physical access control solutions? Well, I tell them, we're going through the same evolution as other industries that we know very well. One of them being music, for example. We used to buy CDs and play them on laser devices. Well, now we stream files from the internet. So that digitalization of the device, we're having that in that industry as well, in the PACS industry as well. We're digitalizing not only the credentials, so the plastic card I was mentioning, which is going into a mobile app as a virtual credential. But as I said, and I mentioned the prop tech companies, we're also digitalizing interactions of people with buildings. And this is a bigger trend.
So do you envisage that there will be no human intervention as the technology evolves?
There will always need to be some human interaction. It's just the means of interactions are diversifying. They used to be very practical in the real physical world, whereas with digitalization, part of that interaction is becoming digitalized, but you still need humans to make the systems run, of course.
How is artificial intelligence helping you or not in your business?
I deal with consultants. So consultants are the organizations that design building systems. The ones I deal with are the electrical engineers or the security consultants that design the access control systems. What we see specifically in the world of design is how artificial intelligence can speed up the design process by suggesting design proposals or by automating some of the design steps that are currently very heavy in terms of resource and investment. So there is a trend when it comes to building design, of course. And there is something a bit more practical in terms of experience in the building where AI, artificial intelligence, helps drive the building's behavior based on how it is used. So adjusting to how many people are in the building and adjusting its power consumption, adjusting its lights, heating, and so on and so forth, are applications of AI.
Tell us, what do you think are the most important or significant trends for 2022?
I would name three. There probably are more, but I have three that really stick out. One is sustainability. I think nobody will question now that climate change is a reality. And the construction industry, buildings, are large contributors to global warming. So sustainability in the construction industry is very high on the radar. And how that affects physical access control solutions, what it affects that industry, because obviously we're connected devices that consume power. So we have a number of reasons why we would look at physical access control solutions and make them less power consuming. So that's an ongoing trend. We also look into ways of making them compliant to standards, to claim, for example, for building ratings in terms of sustainability. And there's, of course, all the migration to digitalization from a very practical standpoint avoids the deployment of plastic cards, which have a large carbon footprint. So replacing them with virtual cards is actually helping the industry to decarbonize in a way. So that's one, sustainability. The other one is data. I mentioned artificial intelligence. Think of a building as walls with sensors all over it. And actually, access control readers are sensors within the building. So they feed data to the building. What the building owners make of that data helps drive better user experiences, better building performance, and many other things. But that relationship between building usage and data analysis is also a trend in 2022. And I would say the last one, the third one, is related to cloud. Obviously, to make all this run, you need cloud capabilities, and organizations nowadays are really looking to migrate applications to the cloud, at least for some of them, to optimize the way they run their operations.
Do you think people feel that cloud is safe enough?
It is safe for non-critical applications. At least this is what consultants tell me today. Some applications will probably not migrate to the cloud before long, but some of them are already in the cloud and actually offer a better service in the cloud than on-prem. So there's no right or wrong. It really is a matter of analyzing.
Wonderful. Steve Commander, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure that people will be interested on contacting you. They can find you on the LinkedIn platform and on HID website, I suppose.
They can very easily.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much, Jenny.
Thank you, Steve.